Okay, we're going to call this workshop meeting to order. Tonight, we're here for a presentation from Choice Words. If you could please just introduce yourself and give us a little background.
Sure, I'm Steve Densmore. I'm the president and CEO of Choice Words. We are a grant writing and strategic communications company based in New Paltz and now an office in Ithaca. And we started 15 years ago, and it kind of grew out of the capital campaign to build the walkway over the Hudson State Historic Park, which I worked for with the Dyson Foundation, retained me to do all the grant writing and public relations for that. So once the new park opened, much fanfare, I had about half time left on my hands. So we created Choice Words, and my colleague, Brianna Maloney, who's the vice president now, does all the research and a lot of the grant writing for the company. And we just grew it organically since then. We now have 20 writers, and we work in a variety of sectors, including for-profit, not-for-profit, municipal, colleges, and it's keeping us quite busy. So to date, we've raised 190 million for our clients, or we've been awarded 190 million, and we've been doing more and more municipal work. We now are the grant writers for Dutchess County, the city of Poughkeepsie, city of New Rochelle. Who else? The city of Peekskill. We're working with Amenia and several other municipalities. And we do a variety of different things for our municipal clients, including, a lot of work in parks, developing parks, improving them, municipal water systems and sewer systems, through the EFC grant programs, NYSERDA, and numerous other grant programs that are available to you all. Any questions?
Now, when you do your grants, you apply for the grants. Do you start them from the start to the finish? So you'll close them out as well, and
That's what we do for you.
everything from soup to
nuts. Yeah,
okay.
because a lot of people, we need to work with our client.
Yes,
We need
yes.
information from you.
Yep.
We need support, documentation, but our job is to file grants for you.
So you identify the grants that are appropriate to our projects and our wish list,
Right?
And
do the
then-
research.
and then see it through and then do the whole paperwork. Close out
The paperwork.
the
Yes.
paperwork.
Well, that's in the application phase. Now, we're sometimes retained to do the follow-up reporting. But a lot of that is usually done through your accounting systems, your bookkeeping or your CPA or whoever it is.
Okay.
But yeah, we can be retained for the grant fulfillment, they call it.
Mhm.
Do you do a per grant basis or is it a monthly only contract? Because what we have here is a monthly contract.
Yeah.
And we can't just find one that we would like for you to go after to say, because we're a small town,
I know, I used to be the editor of the Pine Plains Register Herald a lifetime ago, right down the corner.
so, but half those hours, I think, would still benefit our town for what we're looking for.
It really depends on what you need. I mean, we can fit it to your needs and your budget. So, oftentimes though, when we're asked to do major state or federal grants, we do that on a fee basis. Because those can take 60 or 80 hours in 2 months.
Yep.
But they can also yield $1 million, $2 million. So it's kind of a bigger game. But if we're retained on an ongoing basis, like this proposal, again, we just gave you something to look at. But then what we're doing is constantly doing the research and the grant writing at the same time.
So I think it's important to understand, and I think a huge benefit is they're combing the entire, availability of grants. Because I, just having come back from the annual Association of Towns meeting,
Okay.
it's overwhelming how many grants are available. And I don't feel, I mean, this one sounds good, that one sounds good, they all sound good.
They all sound good.
But I don't have the expertise to really say, okay, we really want to improve our waterfront. So the grants that we want are this one, and
Right.
this one. So that's what you would do for us.
Yes, and make strategic recommendations. In other
Mhm.
words, when you get into some of these grant guidelines, can go 30, 40, 50 pages.
Yeah.
So something on page 28 might be disqualifying, frankly. It
Yeah.
might say you shouldn't do this.
Mhm.
You don't qualify, or whatever it is. Or this is a great grant for you, we should go for it. The deadline is in a month and a half. This is what we need, and we get to work on it. But, you know, we can do it any way that suits you. Usually what helps me and us understand better is based on your project needs, your priorities, your projects, your goals. And then we do the research to identify what might fit those needs
Mhm.
and what you qualify for.
So you want to hear our wish list?
Absolutely.
So we're about to, what, am I stealing your thunder?
No, go ahead, go ahead.
So, we're about to proceed with building a new town hall right in town. The town already owns the property
Oh, great.
and we already have a firm identified,
Architect.
an architect.
Architectural,
Yeah.
yep.
But they'll
Yeah.
help find grants, but they won't write them.
Right, we work with
okay.
architectural firms and engineers all the time.
Yeah,
Labella, you probably have
Yep.
heard of.
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, they're big.
so that's a big project, the town hall.
So have you, done the bonding yet? How far along are you?
No, we're at the beginning stage of the planning stage.
Right, okay,
So they shot the laser of this building to see what our current space is.
okay,
And then they'll speak to the different departments and see what we need space wise, what those departments need.
yeah.
And then that'll be the next stage of actually getting a
Then
design
you'll get
together.
design
And then we can tweak the design. We just need something on paper to present to the public to,
Right.
hey, this is what we're looking at. Can we have your feedback? We have nothing on paper right now.
That's good. I mean, truth be told, there aren't a lot of funds for building municipal structures. But there may be some things out there that you can take a look at. Mostly it's low cost financing or bonding or things like that, but you never know.
Mhm. So another big, issue for us in town is wastewater. I'm
Right.
sure you're hearing that from all the towns. Maybe you're working on that with Amenia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been working on that for a while.
Yes. Another thing is workforce housing.
Okay. But who would own it and build it and own it?
We want to find someone that will do that.
Like a preferred developer?
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
that's a state priority, is to identify
Yes.
and build housing.
Yeah.
Especially affordable housing, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be. There's a grant program called the Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund. And that was created by Governor Hochul 2 years ago, specifically for this region. It doesn't exist in any of the other 9 regions in the state, because it was designed to address this particular need in the Mid-Hudson Valley for housing that's led to an outflow of people.
Yeah.
We're losing people because of it. We're losing tax income. We're losing a lot of things because we don't have enough housing, not just affordable, but of all kinds.
Right.
So the Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund is extremely popular.
And that's state funding?
It's state funding and specifically supports mixed-use housing projects.
Yeah.
So it can go right to the developer, but it can be, something that, well, it's good if the town is behind it.
Mhm.
People are behind that. And almost all these grants, you need letters of support, and you need to demonstrate that there's a groundswell of support. And so, but it does need a commercial component.
Mhm.
Strangely enough, the state wants to build more housing, but the only way they can incentivize it is if there's a commercial component. And
Mhm.
that's a strange rule in Empire State Development.
Mhm.
So you have to have a developer and it needs to be big enough to warrant these grants. They have to have at least 5 million in commercial.
Wow.
So like, that's what, like, Pine Plains, we're a small town,
That's
like,
what I
like,
mean.
we don't qualify for like a lot of
That's
these.
what I'm getting at.
Okay.
Yes, some of these things are, less attainable, but
Mhm.
it might be something you go for. Another great program is called Restore New York.
Yeah.
So Restore New York, and by the way, we've won 5 Mid-Hudson Momentum Fund awards for 25 million in total. But Restore New York is a little bit different. It's to take a vacant or underutilized commercial property and restore it to commercial use. So the developer has to have a plan for taking some, fallow, rundown, vacant property,
Yes.
turning it into, you got one?
We got a few.
That struck a note. Yeah, so that's a great program. The interesting thing is that the municipality applies for the funding. Right, it has to be a municipal application, but the money flows to the developer.
Uh-huh.
So
Huh,
it shows. this
interesting. Yeah.
Private-public partnership.
And it's only for commercial. It's not for mixed use.
The mixed use piece could be, it can incentivize the commercial portion of a mixed use development.
Mhm.
So if you're gonna take an old vacant barn or something that hasn't been used in a long time and turn it into a mixed use development, that would apply.
Wow.
How many units would you classify as development?
We've done that with as few as 10, 15. I mean, they take into account the size of the community and the need.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they probably, again, ESD is trying to accommodate not just the big cities now, they're trying to figure out ways to make this work. We knock on wood, is it Hudson Woodworking?
Yes.
Yeah, so we did an application with Hudson Woodworking and knock on wood, they looked at it very favorably.
For Restore New York?
No,
For-
for Empire State Development Grant Funding.
Okay.
That's a different grant program, but that's for, commercial projects and projects that are gonna result in economic development
Uh-huh.
and jobs.
Right.
And that can be either a municipal application or a private developer.
And so that application has already gone in for Hudson, the Hudson Company?
Yes,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
can't say anymore.
Okay.
You like what they're gonna do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an amazing project.
It's a great
They are
project.
And LaBelle.
Nationally renowned, yeah.
LaBelle. So here's a question for you.
Yep.
Our library is interested in maybe joining us, and
Sure.
utilizing choice words. So they're here tonight.
Is it quiet? back in the
Claire and
We're trying to be restrained.
it's rather unusual.
What are you building a new library?
No,
No?
not at this point.
No, we're doing smaller grants for, we were talking with the town board about possibly sharing some of your hours so that, we could get.
I'm sure we could do something like
we
that.
could figure
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
We rate, this Dan, our director,
Right.
she, does do some grants now too, but, like more is better.
More is better. We collaborate with you, and it's good when you have kind of a body of work established.
Mhm.
You've already done some grants, then we can kind of
Mhm.
hit the ground running after that. Good.
So some of our other wish list
Yep.
things are playground.
Playground, okay.
We have a really nice waterfront. We have Stissing Lake. I don't know if you're familiar, but maybe some work on the waterfront
Yeah.
facilities and a playground kind of combo.
Park there now.
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember stories about what are we gonna do about the geese?
Oh, yeah.
Called the USDA and we had them come up and get them out of there.
Did you?
Yeah.
I remember they were talking about some kind of special dogs and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, yeah. We had fake coyotes
Yeah.
on the
Fake coyotes?
beach. Yeah.
Yep.
And, one of the main jobs of the camp counselors is to rake the beach every morning.
Gotta rake the beach.
Gotta rake the
Yeah.
beach.
Thing with the golf course. So you wanna do park improvements?
Yeah, like new
Yes.
baseball fields, like our fields are
Nice.
need new drainage. We need a complete overhaul pretty much for our right fields.
Do you have designs and budgets for that?
We don't have a budget, but we do have an old design.
We do have an old design, yes.
For the ball fields.
Yes,
We don't have, I don't think
Nothing
we have
for
a
the
design for the
waterfront.
waterfront.
no,
Um,
So a lot of we've won a lot of parks grants. They come from the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation. They do grants for park development, improvement, new park creation.
mhm,
There's also a program that goes every other year called the Recreational Trails Grant Program.
yeah,
And that is run through New York State Parks, but it's federal money that flows into the park system, and then you apply for that. What's nice is that can match, there's a match component with these grants. So generally with a parks grant, you can get 50% of the project costs covered.
mhm,
The other 50% have to come from other sources, not state sources.
mhm.
So sometimes the recreational trails grant can match the state grant
Oh,
because it's federal money.
and we have some wonderful trail systems, but we would love to improve that too. So maybe
The
that
key
could
in
be,
all of that is how the public has embraced these ideas, and if it's in your master plan.
Yeah.
or, You know.
it is,
Those
it's
things
in our comprehensive plan.
in the
Yeah.
comprehensive plan, budgeting, design, all that stuff helps you win the day on that. It's a very competitive program, but there's a lot of money in the Environmental Protection Fund, so.
So I learned recently that before applying for a grant, you should have designs or a plan and a timeline.
Absolutely,
Is
a
the
development timeline.
best. Yeah.
So you need to demonstrate in the grant application kind of where things stand design wise, how accurate is the budget. But also you need to know what you're gonna have to go through to get it approved regulatory wise, Are you gonna have to go through secret? Are you gonna have to go through site plan review? Do you have any easement problems? All those things need to be addressed either during the grant application or before the application begins, because they're gonna ask for all of them.
And is that something that is our responsibility to do all of those things, not yours?
Well, we'll ask you for those things, but
Yeah.
we'll pull them all together.
Yeah.
We usually work with engineers and architects and
Mhm.
whoever you've got working on these things, but we're writers, not engineers.
And like, so money beforehand, do we actually need to have the money to cover the costs, then get reimbursed, correct? Or do
Depends on the
they,
type of grant.
Almost,
it's-
almost always.
Yeah.
so that's another
Not
thing,
always,
like, we don't
almost
have that
always.
disposable income, like, to get a lot of these bigger grants, like at.
Well, here's the point though, let's say you're gonna have $1 million parks project, if you win $500,000,
You can get the rest, I guess.
well, the $500,000 isn't gonna come until you build the park. Right, but you can finance that knowing that the state will come through. In its own good time.
Mhm, mhm.
There is some lag in getting paid.
actually, the state is very good compared to the county.
Oh, yeah?
State
Yeah.
pays a lot faster than the county. State's been very good with the closeout, yeah.
Might be the program, but whatever.
The state's been very good.
Are you talking about grants related to the fire department,
No,
town?
here, yeah, state's been very good.
That's good. I mean, they do pay, these things get built. So,
So another need that we have are sidewalks and crosswalks for our downtown, sort of in
Right.
general, downtown revitalization.
right, landscaping improvements,
Mhm.
aesthetics, safety.
Yes.
There's a couple of programs we've won for various cities and towns. So I forget the grant program, but it's specifically designed to increase pedestrian access,
Mhm.
decrease car usage. And we've won that for New Rochelle a couple of times, and I think Hyde Park.
Mhm.
But are you guys eligible for CDBG?
I don't know.
I'm not
Community
sure.
Development Block Grant Funding?
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, I
Usually that
believe so.
goes Through the county consortium.
Yes,
right? So you can use that for public works projects in eligible census tracts, CDBG.
Yeah, I think I got
Community
something about the
development
block
block
grants.
grant.
Yeah.
Yes,
So those are usually income dependent. So in other words, if you're poor enough, you can
Mhm.
use those funds to do that work. And you know, you might have enough demographic there to utilize it for that, but you don't get a CDBG allocation from the county,
I've never seen one.
okay? Well, you might be leaving money on the table then. We could check that out for you.
Mhm.
No.
Awesome. Well, another one on my list was supporting small and or new businesses,
Mhm.
either small existing or new small. Most of our businesses are small,
Sure.
and you know, that's sort of like the nature of our community, right?
Right.
So supporting new or existing.
There aren't a lot of grants per se to support a business, like,
Mhm.
you know, to help them with their operating costs. But there are funds to help, business take an old building and turn it into a new business if it's gonna result in job creation.
What if it's a business that just is already in an old building and needs, you know, some
Updating.
revitalization
Yeah.
and fixing and,
Yeah.
because some of our small businesses are struggling in that way.
Right. Now, some communities create a facade improvement program.
Mhm.
You know, but that flows, that's a re-grant where it flows through the community, through the municipality, and then it's re-granted to the individual businesses or landlords. Not a lot of money out there for
Mhm.
that, but, have you considered creating a bid? Business improvement district?
We don't have that.
Mm.
There's a new one just starting in Poughkeepsie. That is almost like a water district or a sewer district. It's a certain collection of landlords and business owners agree to basically form their own district.
Mhm.
And they pay into that district for improvements that are focused on their, you know, their downtown.
They pay who?
They create a bid, which is
Yeah.
like a corporate
It's like the
structure.
water
There was
department.
one.
Similar to the water
There was
department.
What?
But there isn't anymore. And so then the money is then redistributed how?
Strategically, they could.
Who
they-
makes those decisions?
The bid board, the bid management. So there's actually a new entity created that runs that and then prioritizes what they want to see happen in the bid. It can be for downtown improvements, it can be for maybe like sewage, I guess, could get into it, but they can do things and they can tax. They're a taxing authority. So kind of like a water district or a sewer district, they can tax the members of the bid. And use those funds to improve just that area. And it's not a tax that somebody living 3 miles out of town has to pay.
Right.
So there's a fairness element to it.
Mm-hmm. But it's also a voluntary sort of,
No.
to be in
No,
the district.
no, once you create the district, you're in the district.
It's a vote, yeah.
It's a vote by those that are in the district.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's like a regular improvement district.
I think so.
It's identical to the water district, just in that area.
Yeah.
So
So-
that,
It's
We
got
all
a
pay the
boundary.
water district for the water like they get our money and then they
correct.
bring it, like, they collect, we.
The only difference is they would have a board. That would be the only difference. The water district, we're the board for the water district. The bid would have their own board.
We would not be the book.
We would not.
That sounds very sticky for a town board to get into.
Yeah.
But it is something that can get grants by itself. It is something that can, you know, focus on priorities that usually the town either can't or doesn't have the money to. And it's not a bad idea in a focused downtown like yours.
Mhm.
It's kind of evolving.
Interesting. Historic restoration.
Historic restoration grants go through New York State Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. They're very tough to win. You've got to have an extremely historic property, and you've got to have historic architectural review and basically the funding is to preserve a historic asset that's on the National Register.
It has to be on the National Register.
At least, but there's
Yeah.
all kinds of levels of the National Register. Most people don't know that there's locally significant, regionally significant, state significant, and federally significant. When I was writing grants for the walkway, there's a great grant program called Save America's Treasures.
Mm-hmm.
It's a federal grant, and what I found out is that you have to be nationally significant to even apply.
Mm.
And the Poughkeepsie Island Railroad Bridge was only state significant. So in about a month and a half, we had one of our Congress people nominated for national significance. And they kind of ran it through real quick for us. And so we got that grant.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, historical significance is hard to achieve. It's got to be really something. But in general, you can get grants to support historic improvements or maintenance, or a lot of it can also be the kind of marketing you do to draw people to see your historic district or see your assets.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Anybody else have anything?
It's a good one. It's a hearty wish
Yep.
list.
I have a question.
Carrie.
It's more a general question. So, obviously you mentioned some of the countywide and the state grants, but you mentioned a lot of federal grants, and specifically you mentioned the EPA. So how is what's currently happening in Washington going to affect the ability for you and us to get grants moving forward when we already know that farms in this town have done the grants where they've paid forward and then they expect to get the grants and those grants have been rescinded. So how do we know that that won't happen to us, or that there will even be money left for us to pay you $2,500, or whatever.
This could
$200
get
an
to
hour?
be a longer meeting now.
Mhm.
So we don't know a lot yet. Because a lot of things are being threatened, and they're being litigated. But what we do know is that actually most of the grants we apply for are through the state, or they're through private charitable foundations like the
Dyson.
Dyson Foundation, right? So all of those, most of those are not affected negatively by cutting off the federal spigot, if you will.
Mhm.
There are certain programs like CDBG where the money flows from
Yeah.
the federal government and it's disseminated through the county or through the individual municipality. It's not, I'm not gonna say it's unlikely because I don't know what's going on, but that hasn't been threatened yet, that kind of funding. Highway funding hasn't been threatened yet. Recreational trails, that's through federal highway funds that go into the Parks Department. It's not a major program, so I'd be surprised if that were affected negatively. A lot of these things have also been already voted on and allocated. Now, technically, that should not be at risk, but it can be.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the state coffers look to be in pretty good shape.
And most of the ones that you talked about were
Are state.
New York
State.
State, yeah.
State or county.
Mhm.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions?
That's basically what, hiring you, what would the cost be?
Well, but the hours could be negotiable, right? Like, or
Totally,
no? Okay.
totally.
But this is your
just,
base to have you on retainer all the time? Or is it could be lower, like the minimum hours, like if we were to.
Yeah, we could do.
Like if we were to do
When you lower than 15 hours.
15?
You can't
Okay,
get
but
much
15 is good for us compared to the 25, because it's actually
That's fine.
a decent.
I just need to know, because you're assigned a writer, right?
Mhm.
Now, the writer works with our team. We have a lot of group experience. But you're assigned a one writer who has to know what she's gonna be doing each month. So, if it's 50 hours, she gotta clear her decks to work on this. But if it's 15, it can be done along with a couple of other accounts and.
And then if we-
Time management.
And if we decided on X number of hours and then we met with the administration from the library and said, oh, we could split it this way, that's something that you can figure out.
Well, just as long as the check's clear. And people know who's paying who.
Right.
I mean, it could get a little confusing, but
Have you done that before? Where,
no.
Okay. okay,
Because usually we have an account, with an entity and here, but,
Mhm.
we're a smallish shop, we're flexible, but as
Mhm.
long as it works.
Mhm.
So that nobody gets left out in the lurch. And then the writer would just have to know you're gonna spend some time on library
Yeah.
work and some time on the town.
And is so the contract would be for a year?
Doesn't have to be.
Okay.
We go up to 6 months or longer. But the thing to point out is that my contract was originally pilfered isn't the word, but utilized by my contract with the Dyson Foundation. And my whole point is that it's in your favor, not mine. You can get rid of us in 1 month's notice, even if we have a 6-month contract. We don't want to work for you if it's not working for you.
Okay, and then so whether it's 15 or 25 hours a month, is that a set amount per month? Or is that fluctuate 10 hours 1 month and 20 hours the next month? Can it be fluid? Can those hours be
It
fluid?
can, that's an average, so that we have an understanding of cash flow and time management. But the idea is that if you did 6 months for 15 hours a month, you're going to get the 90 hours that implies, whether it takes 6
Mhm.
months or 8 months or whatever. We'll keep working until we've fulfilled your contract.
And then have you worked on library grants before?
We have,
Okay,
not a lot, but we have. Yeah. What is it? There's a library fund that's federal. That's under threat.
Yeah.
Just saw that
Justice
yesterday.
League.
Wow.
I don't know.
That paid for a lot of things in libraries.
Mhm.
I mean, Dan has had very good success a lot with the Berkshire Taconic Foundation,
Great.
and LA, so.
Yeah,
Um,
but now for you, we could probably go more towards the private charitable foundations,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
So that's part of our research is to identify private charitable foundations who don't tend to support municipal projects.
Mhm.
They can, but they don't because you can raise money,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Through taxation. So Andrea Reynolds told her recently, yes, we can support something for a municipality, but it's usually something that the municipality is doing that supports part of our mission. But absolutely, the Stewart's Foundation.
yeah, we get the
the
Stewart
net-
grants and we've gotten the Dyson
They're an
grant.
easy $1,000.
Right, so, but there are other people that would be going after,
That's in the research,
Spitzer
yeah.
and other people also.
Yep.
I thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Nice seeing you. all.
Thank you very
Nice
much.
meeting you, Steve. Great meeting you.
Thank you, Steve.
Pleasure. Good to see you,
Talk
sir.
soon.
See you. See you around the plant. Yeah, all right. Great to see you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.